It is great to see someone like Alan thriving in the African game development scene. I cannot wait to play his game. Next up, we have someone who's been pumping out talent for the last 10 years, if not more. Lars Espeter from Friends of Design and the Academy of Digital Arts is going to be telling us about what awesome trouble his developers have got themselves into right now.
All right, yeah. Welcome to my talk. My name is Lars Espeter. I've been working in the game industry for a bit over 27 years by now. And first of all, I'm glad that I got the opportunity to speak at the African Games Week again. My topic today will be game technology as a career path for young South Africans. A lot of people are interested in the game industry and joining as game designers. But what a lot of people forget or do not know is that game technology also offers a lot of other areas. We have a situation now where the World Economic Forum found out about 4 years ago during a major study that it can be estimated that 60% of children that start primary school this year, back in 2016 then, would take a job after they matriculate that doesn't exist yet. And that has to do, they based those findings on the development in technology in general, in digital technology, and especially in the game area. So we have a situation that we need to think about that anyway. To a lot of people, that still sounds like future music. I mean, that would be in 12 to 14 years now, but it's actually a trend that is already happening. Another important trend is that interactive digital entertainment is among the 3 most promising future markets, according to analysts. The opinion on that is sometimes a little bit more positive. Sometimes it's a little bit more skeptical in terms of where digital entertainment actually will be when it comes to future markets, but it's already a major player in revenue and business and everywhere around the world. So we have the situation that more and more companies are becoming aware of this trend. I mean, the movie industry and the music industry got surpassed by worldwide revenue when it comes to combined revenue by the gaming industry or by the game industry as early as 2008, 2009. So that trend has been constant and is still growing. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have a couple of industries now outside the entertainment area and entertainment, games and entertainment industry that really look at game technology as a new way of doing things. There are quite a lot that are already implementing it. I want to give a couple of examples because this development is really important. We have, for instance, a lot of architects that by now use virtual reality and augmented reality for visualization of future projects. And obviously, some of the bigger agencies in that field use more sophisticated virtual reality headsets and technology, but they, in general, use this by now quite a lot because it's far more convenient to show your client what their future house, office, or whatever you're building for them might be. Augmented reality has pretty much, at least for a lot of architects, pretty much replaced those old cardboard models that they used to build and had to carry around. This field alone has a high interest in interactive media. For instance, you can have somebody walk into a room and then turn lights on and off as we know it from games. It's the same technology, the same approach in scripting used in a different way. Banks have now started to use educational games for teaching basic finances management, not only teaching about how credits work and all of that, not only to adults and grown-ups, but also to younger kids that now they realize need this education in order to not run into problems once they're older, or they're students and have to take care of their own money. This trend alone on my side had me talking to 3 banks or agencies that work for banks with pretty much the same idea, coming to us to ask about if we could develop something like this. The ideas range from web-based games to actual phone apps or desktop apps. Car manufacturers also are very interested in augmented reality and virtual reality. Interesting project from alumni students of mine called Controlled Chaos. These guys have been working with Volkswagen Germany to create an AR core-based preview of a new Volkswagen model, because especially during this year, during COVID and during the COVID pandemic, it's risky and expensive and hard to get new models into South Africa to have them at contractors and Volkswagen sellers to show them to the actual possible customer. So what they're doing now is they're using the 3D models they already have based on the design of the car and everything, and retopologize it and use it for an augmented reality app, so that every Volkswagen retailer can take this app and show the car in the parking lot, even though it's not there. Virtual reality is, in their field, usually used for training or for giving you a feel of what the car might look like, and even for simulations. So these are examples where I know specifically what these guys are really interested in and why. There are also other industries that apply this technology as well. For instance, I gave a couple of examples here. Marketing agencies, obviously, augmented reality is a big thing for them. The medical field, textbook publishers, they are pretty much all across the board. Augmented reality to make a book come to life in a classroom. Virtual reality, like a field trip into time. You can get kids, if the school has that possibility, use mobile apps and cardboard, the Google Cardboard, to give kids an impression of what ancient Rome might have looked like. Tourism and engineering are also very interested, and all of these fields have been or are fields that I know alumni students of ours are working in. So this whole approach and this development is very, very interesting, especially for South African matric and students, because it shows a tendency in South Africa that we are going into this field where we get these 60% of jobs that nobody thought of before much earlier. Not only in South Africa, obviously, all around the world, but here it is definitely a trend. So I want to show a few examples of game technology used for slightly different purposes. So I'll have to interrupt this quickly and start a quick video. If my system lets me, bear with me for a second. So these are examples by students that just matriculated this year, that graduated this year. And this is the typical game that any person that hears about game technology thinks of when they hear I'm working in the game industry. So this is your traditional game, very nicely done, and this is definitely a choice of this can be definitely a career choice. But not only here in South Africa. I mean, we have ex-students that work now for companies in the games for entertainment industry that work for companies abroad. This example, for instance, does not look like much on the outside, but what's interesting about this is that this is a project that uses artificial intelligence. So the little icons that you see here are actual single entities or boys that are walking around there, simulating animals and their behavior. You can see a little bit of what is going on behind the scenes. The goal of the student was actually to make AI that is working in the background a little bit more visible so that people really understand there is actually a behavioral pattern or behavioral patterns behind this. This is nice for games, but also developing something like this and having game entities respond to their environments or to situations is very interesting, for instance, for urban planners or for people that plan and engineer large malls, huge office buildings, in terms of how would people flow through the building? Would there be, especially in high-risk situations, or they have to flee the building? We can simulate that now using artificial intelligence. So this is why this is not only interesting for games, this is also very interesting for research institutes and people like it. So another example is coming up just now. This is the typical bank app that teaches you or is supposed to teach about money management. How much money do you have available? How much money do you need to spend? Which costs might hit you when you're actually an adult? This is done in a way that it's entertaining enough, but also gives valid information. The student that did this has a background in economics, and he uses now the game technology and his knowledge there to actually help young people to understand how their money works. This is a typical educational game as another example for educational games for younger kids about the solar system. Very entertaining, very cute to look at. And the knowledge that is given there is not as deep, but it sparks interest. So this kind of educational game is very successful by now, because teachers understand that children that have a playful approach to games, a playful approach to knowledge, can really learn much faster, and it makes it easier for the teacher to teach the textbook knowledge. This is an example, funny enough, by an ex-urban planner, another educational game using augmented reality and mobile. Renanti here has built this game, again, for younger kids, about geometric shapes, three-dimensional ones and two-dimensional ones, to teach kids how a circle and a cylinder works, or what a box is and a triangle. The movie industry, again, is also really interested in our field. This is an example from one of our students in Unity. And this, old man Logan here is running in real time in Unity, and he set it up for it to look realistic while he modeled it. This is another example of game technology used in a totally different way. This is a hand gesture recognition system that works in combination with a game engine to have things move around and to actually control elements in the game. So where this can be used is are a myriad of ways, and there's also a high interest in event and security companies in this. This one doesn't look like much except for beautiful particle effects, but what Tom here did, he is very interested in events and event management and staging. And he uses game technology to actually create an audio reactive system where what is put on the stage via a projector is running inside a game engine, and the microphone input is used to manipulate how the particle systems work and respond based on bass, pitches, voice, singing tracks, and whatever. So he is working on this. This was his final project. He is working on using this for stage events because he wants to go into this entire area using game technology to give events a new approach. And not like just looped videos, but making it really interactive and even interact with the audience beyond the stage. So these are just a few examples that I wanted to show that explain how, let me just stop the video here, sorry for that, how game technology can be used in very different ways, and it's already being used by a lot of students and companies. So there are, however, a couple of challenges. I've been talking to, over the years, to a lot of companies that I either did a project for or consulted. And what you see happening very often, or at least that was up until pretty much this year, I'll get back to that a little bit later, a lot of these companies did not see the benefits for their businesses, or they didn't understand the possibilities that this technology would give them. So then they have a lack of experience with the technology. And on the other hand, they also do not have the employees that have the knowledge and the skills to make certain projects happen for them, which leads to a lot of company and industry leaders not to invest into this technology. We also have the problem, like a lot of these guys lived through the new economy bubble. So this, they don't really like to believe the technological hype that comes with new technologies. I mean, augmented reality has been around for more than 7 years by now. I did my first AR project for Total South Africa, not for a German company, but for a South African company, because they were open enough to say, like, listen, we heard about this new thing. We think we can use it. Can we have something like this for an event of ours? But it took 7 years until you hear these requests coming in more and more often. There are a lot of them around. The problem that the reason why we are not aware of it, and why the general public isn't aware of this whole approach and this chance and this career path, is that a lot of development teams that work for these clients are under strict NDAs and cannot mention these projects or put them on their portfolio, which is kind of difficult. It's getting a little bit better by now, but there is this a kind of cautious approach to telling other people too much what you're doing in your company. So, and obviously, if you, as a developer, sign an NDA and you do not stick to it, it might really backfire in a really bad way. But it's happening. We have these developments now, especially this year, and the whole approach to this and the loosening up of industry leaders and decision makers in these companies has started in a big way. So we have a lot of chances for young South Africans now. What they need is a solid education in this field about the technologies. I mean, this. I think a lot of my colleagues agree that we are always smiled upon in a certain way because we use game technology. We develop games. So it always has this kind of, yeah, it's not a real profession. It's kind of a couple of nerds that do their thing. A lot of very few people are really aware about the type of skills that you need to really work on a team like that or develop an entire project like this, understanding the technologies that are out there that we use on a daily basis. So they need this education first and foremost, but also combined with project and teamwork experience, because they need this. They need to be able to plan a project, sit down with other people, with other experts, like on a movie set, and work with other people to really get this project through. I mean, we have big projects out there, like the super well-known titles like GTA, Assassin's Creed, that have hundreds of designers and programmers and who have you working on a title for a couple of years. Most of these projects that I've been talking about are 3 months to 6 months, maybe a year, projects that can be handled by 5 to 10 or 20 talented young students. What helps a lot to get a job in this field is a T-shaped skill set. What I mean by that is that you have a broad foundation of basic knowledge and one field, let's say scripting or creating game graphics, 3D modeling, animation, that is your specialization where you have a lot of knowledge in. That is what we call the T-shaped skill set. And this is really important because if you work on a team, on a development team, you need to be able to understand what the scripters are talking about or what the 3D graphics guys need from you when you're a scripter, or how the sound guy comes in and what the game design document is and how a production process works and all of that. If you don't have that, it's really hard to get into the industry, or not get into the industry, but stay in the industry, because you will not be able to work with these guys properly. And then last but not least, a portfolio. In this field, a portfolio is your entry card, which is why we do, at the Academy, we do a lot of projects. These guys have a solid portfolio by the end, because I know I hire people based on portfolios. Everybody else does. Actually, big companies like Google, LinkedIn, and a lot of recruitment agencies by now have taken degrees completely out of the equation, because people by now, the interesting companies and less traditional companies, hire based on skills and not on degrees. That is something that is a very important thing to realize. So let's talk a little bit further about chances for young South Africans. Why this is a big chance, this development, is that skills in game technology are needed by more and more industries, as I illustrated earlier. The demand is growing, and when one company in one industry starts applying this technology, you will see others join. Once the seal is broken, and one guy risked new technology first, others will follow when they are successful. The problem is, and we do corporate training at the Academy of Digital Arts, and we have had these requests, quite a lot of them, urgently, because these guys realize we need to speed up. We need to step up and say, like, this is the new field, new technologies, especially in the media industry. We need to understand this technology and have employees that can actually help us with that and realize projects. And not only, we do not only need that AI is out there, but how can it help us? And if it can help us, do we have the employees that can actually program it? Another important factor for South Africans in terms of career chances, they are not limited to South Africa. We have alumni students that now work for companies in Canada, in France, in Switzerland, and not for one project, but for multiple projects. There's one very interesting AR project some of our ex-students are working for in Canada. Why Europeans like South Africans so much is, first of all, there are few language barriers. Most of the guys speak at least 2 different languages. We are in the same time zone, which is very, very helpful. If you ever worked for an American or Asian team, you know what I'm talking about with the time shift. All of a sudden, you need to talk to your client at 2 o'clock in the morning or something. And what we get as feedback from these European companies is actually that they love the work ethics. On time, reliable, good communication skills. They're super, super happy working with us. And let's not forget the exchange rate. Even if we make a lot of money for our standards here in South Africa, Europeans and even US companies really pay far less for the same service than they would pay in their own country. That these points are incredibly important for our business future when it comes to game technology as a career path for development companies here or for individual freelancers. So, and especially during 2020, a lot of things have changed, and we can see this not only from the academy side of things and corporate training, but I see it on a personal level, on a day-to-day level, because of how companies are approaching me. We have never had as many augmented reality projects that we've been asked to do, and please, yesterday, because a lot of companies realize we need this now because otherwise we're losing business, and augmented reality can help us with certain things. So the view of how new technologies are being looked at and in terms of business possibilities, because somebody started it, have changed during the COVID pandemic a lot. Because people now were forced to look at new solutions to old problems, because the old solutions weren't available or didn't work for a long time, or were not supposed to work for a long time because of lockdowns and everything all around the world. That has changed thinking quite a lot, and it's sped up adapting to what you, if you want to call it, the fourth industrial revolution. And internationally, remote working has been now largely accepted as unproblematic, even though a year ago, if you would have asked people, and especially managers about this, they would have said like, no, there's no way that it's going to work. We've read study after study, all studies say it's not working. Funny enough, if you talk to companies by now, the companies are fully embracing it because they see a lot of benefits. They were able to give up office space because they don't need offices every day for every employee. They split it up. They do office sharing, and it has been. They have less days where parents need to stay at home or get a leave day because something happens at school. That all fell by the wayside. Funny enough, in the year 2020. What you hear a lot of these guys talking about is how much they save on toilet paper. So funny side effect. But my point is, you can see that this thinking has changed. And embracing new technologies, or I mean, to them, new technologies like virtual reality, augmented reality, games for game technology for simulations, online museums, virtual reality museums, virtual reality events. All of this can be done if you know this technology and if you know how to work on projects like these, if you have the skills. And it's now being widely accepted by most people. And this has given the entire industry a boost if you want to go that route. A lot of developers still rather want to stick to creating entertainment games, but if you have a larger company or a larger team and you have to do projects on the side, this is also a very interesting field to work in, because you also learn something about how a different target group than you're used to responds to this technology. So for young South Africans, this is a very exciting time to start into this field and start studying, no matter where you study. As I said earlier, the important thing is that you have a portfolio, that you have project experience, and that you really look into where you want to go with this technology and your skill set. The other very important thing is, and that is very important to me at least, when we set up the course, is upskilling and making the students able to research further, so that if a new technology comes out, or a new approach to augmented reality or whatever, you understand the basics, the foundation of why this technology works and how it works, be it scripting, 3D models, game engines, whatever, and then look into the new things and be able to understand them, because you have the basic foundation of knowledge that you need, that everything is built on. Trying to stay ahead of the curve is incredibly important in this field to stay relevant. And yeah, that concludes my talk. I hope you got something out of it. And if you have any questions, then just let me know. You can reach out to me if you do not like to ask questions during the Q&A. You can reach out to me under my two email addresses. The one is lars@ada.ac.za, and the other one is lars@gdoutsourcing.net, which is the agency that we created that connects South African developers with European clients and tries to establish contacts there for projects and help a little bit with the communication in between the two. And also, obviously, social networks, Instagram, Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Feel free to contact me, follow my profiles, and enjoy the content that I put out there. Thank you for your time.